Hey, how's it going, guys? We are at Collinsville Regionals. We just finished finals. I have with me
Danny Altavilla.
And welcome back to the channel. You've been on here before, and it's always a pleasure to have you on here again. What were you running this weekend?
This weekend I ran Zoroark Lucario.
Zoroark, Lucario. Very, like, favorable deck. Like, if it has matchups 50-50 across the board, right? What was your reasoning for bringing this deck to this regionals?
So, the thing about Zoroark and its stance in the meta right now is that the deck doesn't really have any awful matchups, and it can be built to beat whatever it chooses to beat. So it was too hard of a meta to know. So the play was to run a consistent deck that was capable of beating most of the field, and then sacrificing cards that you would otherwise play maybe in different metas in hopes of not hitting specific decks. So for example, in this list, it's very consistent in favor of cards like Professor Kukui or DNC Prism Star or any other damage modifiers, maybe Devoured Field. So it's lacking in the damage area, but it's still going to get there based on certain matchups.
Correct. Awesome. So let's get into the list and see the exact 60 you're running this weekend.
Alright, so basically the list is going to be, it's going to start off as your average Zoroark list. So the first thing we have is 4 Zorua from Shining Legends. Let's get those babies on cam. There's a new Zorua that got printed, but because we don't play unit energy in a heavy amount, it's better to use the RAM one, but that's really doesn't matter. Yeah. 4 Zoroark GX. That's pretty staple on these. 1 Corner Rockruff. To have the option to use corner, and then 1 surprise attack Rockruff for the 70 HP, because if you attach to corner, your opponent can do Guzma, DC a Lele, and then KO the Rockruff, so you want to have the option. And then 2 Lycanroc GX. The Lycanroc's super good because Bloodthirsty Eyes is going to be an extra out to using Guzma, or rather just a Gust effect in general, but it's letting you play a different supporter, so this card obviously is one of the better cards we've seen over the last couple seasons. And then the really big thing about it is that because it's a fighting type attacker, you're hurting other Zoroark decks, you're hurting Pikachu Zekrom, and it's just a very strong attacker in this meta right now.
So some of the lists that we're running this weekend, they did the 1-1 split, or they're running 2-1 split of the Lycanroc with the new Lycanroc from Team Up. How did you feel about that card, and what were your thoughts of cutting it since you're not running it in your deck?
So the Team Up Lycanroc is a great card. It's a card that gives you options in different matchups. So for example, let's say the deck's not capable of getting one-shots the way it is without the damage modifiers, but maybe you can circumvent that for at least like the Malamar matchup by, say, using the GX attack on the new Lycanroc GX, which is 30 for each basic energy in your opponent's discard pile. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to take advantage of it, but it felt like it was very specific and too specific for what we were trying to accomplish with this build. So it didn't quite make the cut, but by no means is it a bad card, and it's definitely a strong option.
Perfect. Okay.
So then moving on, there's 2 Riolus. The Detect one is just the better one because there will be games in an infinite sample size. There are going to be games where Detect will win you a game. So maybe you use it 1 game out of all the games you play in the event, but it'll matter in that 1 game. So
nice.
And then 2 Lucario GX. This is just because it's an easy return KO on a Pikachu Zekrom tag team. Hits for exactly 120, times 2 is exactly 240. It also, even though you barely get to use it, you have the Cantankerous Beatdown GX attack. So if your Lucario gets pinged and not fully KO'd, you can then Cantankerous Beatdown, and then you always have the threat of Cyclone Kick. If you're able to get 3 attachments on Lucario, then it's pretty good.
Nice.
So it's mostly just to have a Lycanroc, maybe a Rockruff attached to it in the Pikarom matchup. Bench a Riolu, which having this on bench is so much pressure already because of the 1 attachment. So together, it all
synergizes.
Yes, very much so. There's an Alolan Grimer. This one specifically actually won me a game that I wasn't supposed to win.
Wow.
So the reason this Grimer's good is because Jirachi puts itself to sleep, and then you hit 50 more because they're sleeping, so that's exactly 70, which is a KO on Jirachi. And twice against Malamar, I started this Grimer and had a DCE, and they happened to have a sleeping Jirachi in the active position. So it put me ahead on a turn that I wasn't supposed to be able to get a KO, which ended up favoring me in the prize trade. So this Grimer is definitely the best one, just because of situations like that where you need to, you need to get a crazy playoff.
Nice.
And then the Grimer obviously complements Alolan Muck, which the Power of Alchemy ability shuts off abilities for basic Pokemon. This is going to be relevant in your Zapdos matchup, in your Pikarom matchup. We just gained Tapu Koko Prism Star. We have Jirachi, one of the best cards ever printed. We have Let Loose. We have other Dittos. So Muck right now is an amazing card. And while lists weren't really taking advantage of Grimer before, based on the Trainer Supporters Stadium line, you want to run the Grimer. So 2 Tapu Lele GX. This is the bare minimum. You cannot go below 2 Leles because if you prize one, obviously you're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah.
So 2 is a great number. Sometimes you can go a whole game without using Tapu Lele, so it definitely went down from maybe 3 or 4, but it's still a great card. 1 Ditto Prism Star. This is going to be to turn into a Lycanroc, turn into a Zoroark, turn into a Muck. You obviously cannot use it with the Aura Strike attack because you have to evolve off Riolu, so that is a shame, but still a 3-for-1 basic is very strong, especially in a Stage 1s kind of deck. And then 1 Oranguru from Ultra Prism. And the idea behind using this card was that we expected a lot of Vileplume Sceptile. The deck just felt very promising in testing, so we thought, should we play the deck in case other people tech for it? Decided not to do so, and then ended up just going with a hard tech for that matchup, because what you're going to do is you'll put back in Acerola, be able to pick up your guys and then hit them, and then you just have more pressure than they're capable of dealing with. So the Guru is very strong and necessary in a big event like this, where, as I stated before, we didn't know what the meta would be, and we just wanted a consistent yet teched out deck to deal with these situations.
Awesome.
So moving on to the trainers, there's 4 Lilies. Lily is your turn 1 supporter in this deck, whereas in the past it may have been Bridget and then Elm immediately after. But there was a period where Lily was the play, and now I think it came back just because Great Ball was not a consistent option for a ball card, and it was still good enough to let you use Lily. But when Elm came out, it was still just so bad that it was just, that it was better to just use Elm over Lily Great Ball. So now that there's Pokemon communication, Lily's back to being the way to go, because not only do you have 8 outs to finding the Lily, but you have so many ball cards that are guaranteeing that they grab what you want them to.
Yeah.
So then there's 2 Guzma. This number is normally 3 to 4 in other Zoroark decks, but because we have the 2 Lycanroc GX, it's not as necessary. 2 Acerola. These are going to be to just keep picking up attackers in the 1 prize matchups where they hit you for not enough, but a significant amount of damage that want you to pick up.
When it's a 2-shot game, you just start cycling them back and forth, and you get to conserve your DCEs, which is actually very important in the matchup. But yeah.
There's also some plays where maybe you have a Pokemon on bench that you don't want to be there, and with the Rainbow Energy, you can activate your own Acerola and then pick up the Pokemon, which I did multiple times to help me win games. So it's very strong. There's 1 Cynthia because you already have 4 Lilies, so the need for Cynthia is not there nearly as much. I don't really see that going up anytime soon. 1 Judge, you need the card because there are going to be a lot of matchups where if your opponent hits a specific combo, you just can't do anything. So once your opponent's hand gets out of control, you want to just fix that, so Judge is really good. And then 1 Mallow. Mallow just guarantees that you get cards like, let's say you can Mallow and trade into a Lucario and a Fighting Energy, or Mallow and trade into a Counter Gain and a Lycanroc or something. So Mallow is going to let you sacrifice setting up an extra Zoroark to trade into a bunch of cards, because it's letting you get the 2 specific cards that you want, which is relevant in the Pikarom matchup and just against decks like that are so fast that you need to never whiff. So It was actually an insane card this weekend.
Awesome.
4 Ultra Ball,
For consistency.
very much so. 4 Pokemon Communication, also for consistency. So this is what I was talking about. Pokemon Communication lets you put a Pokemon from your hand on top of your deck, search your deck for a new Pokemon to replace it. So that's obviously going to be really good because it's taking Great Ball's place as a better ball option. And then there's 4 Nest Balls. These are just to find your basics and to draw them off Lily. And then getting into the techier part, there's 1 Rescue Stretcher. That's pretty much a given though.
Yeah.
1 Pal Pad. That's also going to be a given in this deck. It's just it's because for one, trade is going to sometimes just put you in a position where you have to get rid of something you may not have wanted to. So these cards will help out. Also, it's just really good to have more resources when you're just using all of them all the time. And then there's a Field Blower, because we heard a lot of talk of people running weakness policy in Pikarom, and it's nice to bump other Viridian Forests and stuff like that. It's nice to use Viridian Forest and bump your own before your opponent abuses it. So the Field Blower is a great card in the deck, definitely worth keeping, just because of the weakness policy threat. 1 Choice Band. The Choice Band was kind of iffy. It rarely did anything because there's no Kukui to complement it. But the Choice Band is necessary to allow you to Claw Slash for more than 110 against a Pikarom. I think if you have Choice Band or Kukui or Distortion Door or something, or Deancey Prism, that it doesn't mean anything. You need to have both together. So running Choice Band as a one-of was a no-brainer because it's just such a useless card the way this deck is built right now. And then we have a Counter Gain. The Counter Gain is going to let you use Dangerous Rogue GX out of nowhere by allowing you to use this as your second attachment when you're behind. So that this is mostly a mirror tech, because in mirror there's always a turn where if you can Dangerous Rogue their Lycanroc, they'll lose. So you want to make sure you get there with the Counter Gain, even if they're able to control your Rockruffs the entire game through. Like, you attach to a Rockruff, they Guzma up and KO it. So, that's that. And then lastly, for TSS, we have 2 Viridian Forests. So, this card is not only going to thin a card out of your hand and out of your deck, but it's also specifically grabbing a basic energy, which is really good, because Zoroark misses energy attachments sometimes, so having a static energy in play is just so good.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the synergy with the Lily by getting a card out of your hand before playing it at the beginning of the game is good, and it's just always nice to thin. So, very strong stadium card.
Awesome.
So, moving on to the energies, pretty easy. You have your 4 DCE, that is a necessity in a Zoroark deck, because
Zoroark does ride his speeding for DCE.
DCE,
Yep.
ban DCE, as they say. There's 1, 2, 3 fighting energies. These are going to be our targets for the Viridian Forest. And then 1 rainbow energy that I mentioned earlier, only to activate a Zoroark. So
There you guys have it. That's the list. Now that we're looking at it full view, any changes, cuts that you would make, anything that you would possibly take out now that you played two days of Pokemon with it?
So I think that this list was made with every deck that we wanted to be in mind, and it was made in a way that was kind of it was difficult to really know what we would face, so we really just went kind of crazy on this one by playing a list that can't necessarily beat like the Ultra Beast decks or the really heavy attacker decks. Maybe even has trouble with Ultra Necrozma, but is just so consistent that it's capable of destroying anything else. So that was worth more for this event than playing a regular average Zoroark list. And as far as changes go, I think maybe the only thing I might do is I really can't pinpoint a time when the Choice Band actually helped me out besides getting turning 180 into 210 or turning 150 into 180. So that came up so little that I almost would want this to be a Kukui just because it's nice to have the
draw and the extra
exactly.
and the extra 20.
Yeah,
which balances out some of the numbers anyways.
Yeah, so it's like a trade-off because you get an extra supporter in the deck that can be used even against non-GXs, but you have to use it as a supporter instead of using it as a tool. So besides that, I really can't can't put my finger on anything that I would actually want to change.
Cool. Well, the list was very solid. It made you get second place at this regionals, which is amazing. So yeah, so there you guys have it. That's the list right there. All right, guys. So that was the deck right there. Going into day one with this deck, how did you feel?
So going into day one with the deck, I thought it would be pretty good, but I wasn't quite sure if, because obviously there's the two factors that you can't control. Three. How well you draw, how well your opponent draws, and what matchups you face. So that's all completely out of your hands. And it ended up being a situation where I got really lucky. I ended up going 9-0 day one just because I hit good matchups. You know, I played well, outplayed my opponents sometimes. There were so many like rough matchups out there that I was able to pretty much dodge. So that was definitely nice.
Yeah, after talking to like most of the players this weekend, lots of people said that dodging like certain matchups was what got them wins, because this tournament, this pool of decks that we have right now, it's very like there's not one deck that's supreme. Like in Expanded, we all know that Zoroark rules. Yeah. And here it's like, well, it's like a kind of like a triangle. It might even be more than that, but every deck has a counter, which is, I think that's a healthy meta. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah. So this format is similar to past formats where it's like they say a rock paper scissors meta where one deck beats the other deck, beats the other deck, beats the other. But it's more complex because it's not 3 decks. There's maybe like 8 viable decks so that you can show up to an event and know that it'll be, you know, at least a strong option. And you know, every event, I think the meta is going to shift slightly, and there's going to be some crazy decks winning. So definitely this format is a healthy one. It's a fun one, and it challenges not only challenges the mind in the sense that you want to come up with a list that you think will be the correct list for the event, but it challenges your skill as a player to make a good meta call. And more so than anything that I saw this weekend, it actually is a skillful format where making small mistakes can come back to haunt you very easily.
Can cost you the whole game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I totally believe that, and I totally back that up as well. Going into Top Cut, what was your first match for Top 8?
So going into Top Cut, it was a Zapdos Jirachi deck, which is normally a good matchup. He played Rainbow Energies and Buzzwole from Forbidden Light, so that was kind of rough because the Zapdos player is capable of having a Sledgehammer turn, which is something that you're not really looking forward to as a Zoroark deck versus Zapdos. You wanna be able to just use Acerola all the time and to not let them get one-shots, and then you want to really control what they're able to do with the Muck. So the Sledgehammer made it a little rough, but luckily in top 8 my opponent wasn't able to draw very well, and I was able to take a commanding lead with the Zoroark and the Muck, and ended up taking that one in like 20 minutes. So.
Nice. All right, and then got your win. You went into top 4. Well, what happened there? What did you play? What did you play?
In top 4, I played against Tablemon using Pikachu Zekrom, and Tablemon's a seasoned player, probably one of the better players
that you will hear around. Yeah.
I think everyone knows that name, so it's one of those things where like you really can't afford to make any mistakes or whatever, and that's what I tried to do, was just play out my best. It ended up being a situation where in game 1, I played a judge, and then the judge set up Tablemon's hand in a way that I could Guzma up a Jirachi and corner at the end of the game, where he would have otherwise won on the next turn. And then the corner ended up causing him to pass, which gave me the one extra turn I needed to end up stealing the win. So so the judge plus the Guzma corner immediately after was really good. And then going into game 2, it was pretty one-sided on the Pikachu side because I was whiffing energies. And then game 3, I went first. He drew a card, attached an energy to Eevee, lone Eevee, no bench Pokemon, and said quick draw. So then that was it. So that was a donk. It was really surprising, to say the least. I think based on my start, that had we played a true like actual game, that it would have been, you know, maybe in my favor. But I mean, ending like that is kind of rough. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's the thing about now. Like, it can just turn around. Like Marshadow, you can Marshadow into a broken hand, or you can Marshadow into a brick.
Yeah.
Or like in this case, you judged him, and he judged into like attach pass, and then corner, and then you took the win that way, which was amazing. The fact that you thought about that like on the spot was, I think it was great. But yeah. So then you go into finals, and who are you playing finals?
So in finals, I played against teammate Zach Lesage. He was playing Blacephalon, which is specifically one of the decks that I was hoping to never hit at this event. So hitting it in finals is like the worst time, because that's when 2500's on the line. So,
Right.
But it's okay. It's a teammate, and it just ended up being that way. And had I played against literally any other deck, maybe not the Ultra Beast decks, but you know, any of the decks that the deck's designed to beat, it could have at least been a solid series. So, but I'm happy for teammate Zach Lesage, and glad that it was
That it stayed within the team.
Within the team.
Yeah,
exactly.
You guys are like killing it. You guys are doing amazing.
Yeah.
You guys. I love the fact that you guys are just like, you guys just started this year, right? You guys put the team together. Like
Yeah.
Caleb is like the head, like organizer, I guess, or the admin of your team, right?
Yeah, Caleb's definitely the team leader.
Yeah. And then like his goal was like, we need to win every regional, and you guys are doing that, which I think that's great. That's like a great like team plan, I guess. So yeah. And
it's just a real nice showcasing of what it's possible to accomplish within this game as a team, and that's something that it's nice that we keep winning events as a team collectively, because when that happens, it makes other people want to start teaming up and testing, and I think that's what the game is all about: is friendship, camaraderie, being able to mesh your brains together and come up with these crazy decks.
Ideas. Yeah. Because like one person by themselves, they can be like, yeah, like this is a good idea, but then they have nothing to bounce it off of. But you guys as a group, as a collective, it just makes it so much better, and I think that's the reason why you guys are doing so well.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, like, there's other teams out there that they're great, but they're very like, our team is our team. You guys are very open, and I also applaud that you guys are very open about like, this is what we're playing, like this is what we're gonna do. I think Zach is the one that like, he'll say like a day before, a couple of days before, hey guys, this is my list, and he'll just like, he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And he'll come in and he'll win.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's awesome. That you guys are doing so well. So yeah, so I hope that you guys just keep this win streak going, and you guys take it all the way to Worlds.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Before I do that, we have Toronto coming up in 2 weeks. Will you be attending?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. And that is expanded.
Yeah.
Any thoughts for expanded? Any top 3 decks that you're thinking of?
Top 3 decks for expanded. So they just banned Delinquent, they just banned Lucamine, which means that maybe some of the stall decks, like the control-based decks. So the big DDG deck was the Seismitoad Zoroark deck. That deck, obviously, with Lucamine being gone, is finished for the most part. But at least now it's more fair. Maybe you could play Pal Pads or something to compensate. But either way, I think if there had to be a top 3 to be named, I don't think Zoroark Garbodor got touched at all. I think that they, if anything, gained something out of the Lucamine ban by not having to run the Ranger anymore. So you gain an extra slot in the deck. The same thing can be said for the Archie's Stoice deck. That deck right now is insane. You get Viridian Forest to help out your Archie. You get you lose the Seismitoad Zoroark matchup, which is great, because that was a really poor matchup for us. So it's nice being able to not have to worry about facing that as that deck either. And then the third deck, I think, would definitely be Pikarom, just because it's so strong and standard that when you give the deck, you know, some
Max
amount
elixirs.
of Shiny-X for max elixirs, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they just pop. They'll draw like half their deck.
Skyfield,
Yeah, and then they'll be like, energies destroyed.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if anything is going to rise above all the rest of the decks, it'll be Pikarom, just because you destroy Zoroark and what they're trying to accomplish in Expanded. So it'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with.
Cool. But yeah. All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Danny, thank you for being on the channel. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. With that said, guys, if you guys are looking for a really good Zoro Lycanroc list, that got second place at Collinsville, Illinois. This is the list that you want to check out. Any shout outs that you have?
Just shout out to Team DDG. Absolutely love the team and my teammates. It's great. It's a wonderful thing. Big shout out to the gang. You know who you are. And then I guess shout out to shout out to everyone who supports me. I seriously appreciate it, and it means a lot having people back me up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.